Hello, welcome. It seems that we're live. So my name is Agnieszka Hyla and I'm a delivery lead at Netguru. And I'm pleased to invite you to our yet another live discussion here at Netguru. And today we'll be discussing how to harness power of AI for business efficiency, but also how to do it in a secure way. Today we have two great experts to discuss this topic with. And coming up first, Maciej Markiewicz, our security engineering manager at Netguru. Hi, Maciej.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to see you here with us. And the other speaker would be Patryk Szczygło, senior consultant for research and development, also at Netguru. Hi, Patryk.
Hello.
Okay, so before we dig deeper into the topic of AI, I would love you guys to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about what you do in Netguru. Let's start with Maciej.
Okay, so I'm security engineering manager, and basically to me and my team, we are working to provide security or cybersecurity services to our products, to our development teams, and to our clients. So basically, we are working to build secure products for, let's say, entire world.
Thank you. And I had the pleasure to work with you and your team on multiple projects. So it's a very nice experience. Thank you for that.
Great.
And Patryk, how about you and R&D team?
Hello, I'm Patryk from R&D team, so research and development team, and we are applying the newest technologies for organization, ourselves, Netguru, and our clients, and currently mostly working on different AI topics and how to apply them for the business.
Okay, so it feels like we have the two sides of the coin. Patryk, to be able to argue where and how to use generative AI tools in business to make it more efficient, faster, better. And Maciej to also argue that, of course, but as well the secure way of implementing it in real life cases. Okay, so before I start asking you many questions, I would love to do a little deep dive into what we'll be discussing. So the current situation on the market, in the internet, but also outside of it, is that everybody's discussing AI tools. Why? Because the promise of them is huge. What they promise us is more efficiency, making faster, more informed decisions, data-driven decisions. Sometimes even reducing the human factor errors and how they could improve the business outcomes and the results of the whole project. What the promise also is that maybe sometimes we could even remove humans doing repetitive tasks with AI tools. We'll probably dig deeper into that today as well, because it's not entirely true. But the overall outcome, what would it be? It would be, of course, cost cutting and making faster moves and becoming the first in line when it comes to doing business within our markets, within our business domains. But of course, the new technology, well, it's not that new, but it might feel to some as suddenly artificial intelligence is here because of, for example, ChatGPT and its accessibility and its great UX that it enables plain users, not technically driven people, but just everyone, like, for example, me or my mom or my dad, just to ask the chat the question and get an instant, well, sometimes it takes a few minutes, but in most cases, it's an instant reply. So with a new technology being introduced to the market with such high speed, of course, there are consequences, there are risks and threats being the consequence of that. And we'll be discussing these as well. But the overall feeling here is that while we have this great new technology at our hands, we also have to consider how it may become a threat to our business. Maybe lapse in judgment on part of one of our employees, or maybe we just don't want every single information that the employees are asking the chat about shared with the world. Anyway, it all has to be thought through and taken care of before we start working with the tools. Okay, so there are, of course, high emotions in play here. On one end, the companies want to become the first in lines. They want to leverage the AI, harness its power, and just, skip the competition and become the leaders. of their domains, business domains. But then the FOMO effect is really kicking in, fear of missing out. We don't want to be the last ones in the line. We don't want to miss on the opportunity of becoming the leaders by not using the tools and just doing things the traditional way. Okay, so Patryk, the first question I would like to ask you, could you tell us a little bit about current opportunities being at the background of the generative AI tools?
Yes, sure. So maybe let's start with small introduction about the machine learning. So machine learning is an algorithm that is supposed to be smart. So we say, hey, algorithm, look at this data. We give a lot of data, and this algorithm tries to figure out what are those data about. So for example, if we take Wikipedia and tell the algorithm, look at Wikipedia, he is able to predict, for example, next word. So if we say like large language, he will predict models. So we have large language models, like for example, GPT-3 for ChatGPT, that is able to predict the next word. So if we ask the sentence, the algorithm tries to figure out the prediction for the next words, and he gives a decent answer for us. And this is a great tool because they are really universal. We can also say like, take a look at these images, descriptions, and suddenly we have stable diffusion or mid-journey, and we are able to write like the cat on the moon. And this machine learning algorithm, because he saw like the cats, the moons, he's able to generate a new image with a cat on the moon. And it's pretty awesome because we have right now GPT-3, 4, we have stable diffusion, mid-journey that are really general. Generate me some text, generate me some images, but we have also some specialized tools, like for example, Whisper, that is able to turn like our audio, what we say, into the text. So that's also great. We have Copilot that is helping us to write some new code, new algorithms, give us like the prediction of what we should program. And there are many other tools, like we evolve from these generalized tools like GPT, Stable Diffusion, into more advanced usage. And all of this is based only on this machine learning. So we give a lot of data to the algorithm and say, try to figure it out. And after many hours of training over the data, we have a decent machine learning model.
Okay, and the ultimate dream would be personal assistant, digital assistants. Do you think we're there? Is it true?
Not yet. I saw recently like OpenAI and Microsoft research about achieving AGI, so artificial general intelligence. And their meaning is like creating the machine learning model that can improve itself. So if we start talking with him, he will improve itself over time and over time without like any additional training and so on. Mm-hmm. But we are not yet there, but we are pretty close. And it also like involves with some ethical questions. And there was some like the petitions to stop for the next 6 months, like working on creating more powerful machine learning models, because they might be dangerous if they achieve like self-improving options.
Okay. So it's like you said, machine learning models learn on data sets, and just as good data set we have, the better outcomes we'll get. So it's just exactly like with humans, we have cognitive biases. We base what we think and what we say on our experiences, what we experience in life. It's exactly the same with machine learning models. It's just that people get exposed to more information, but right now with more advanced model, like the model used for the ChatGPT service, is exposed to extreme quantity of information, basically everything from the internet. So, okay, thank you very much for that introduction. And Maciej, just the high-level overview of what risks we're facing when we introduce such technology with high speed.
Yes, basically, as any technology that is rapidly developed, or basically any technology, AI is also concerned with many different risks. What we are observing currently is that the whole speed of the entire development of the AI tools, AI products, and looking for a perfect solution for perfect application for using AI as a tool is generating a lot of information noise and things like that. So in my personal opinion, we still didn't find the best solution. One thing is sure that we are facing the breakthrough. We can say even that this is a revolution that started now, and we are working with the tools that will improve our efficiency, improve our performance, and will help us to be more efficient doing such things. But doing anything, generating a lot of new information, new processes, and speed up everything, basically any business. But in this rush, in this communication noise, what I'm observing is that we are many times we don't see that together with the development and the benefits of the AI tools, we are also creating new threats, new issues, new risks that are connected with using these tools, because each revolution and in each new technology introduce new ways of new ways of using this also in a bad way, or introducing new vulnerabilities that can result can have a negative results on our business. So using the AI tools especially on the current stage where we still don't have like clear paths, processes, and methods to use it correctly in proper way, needs to be performed. Any business should operate with extreme cautions and based on the risk modeling and threat modeling, because this is in my opinion, this is the only way to do those tools safely, right? Because we have different we already identified many of the threat categories, starting from intellectual property issues, starting from the privacy issues, legal and compliance stuff. Many countries are currently analyzing how to approach, for example, GDPR regarding the processing personal data in such models. We are facing the issues with generating fake information or things like that, because the AI models work like that. So many issues there are we can find in using the AI, and each of these issue, of course, can be fixed, or somehow we can find the solution how to work with such issues. But what is most important is that we need to be aware that these issues exist and they may affect our business. And that's the key tricky part here, is to approach the new technology with the very with the better understanding of the not only with the solution that the AI can provide, but also with the threats that and risk that it can bring to our business.
Okay, thank you for that. So let's focus on the specific tool for now, and let's dive deeper into the ChatGPT. Because of its great UX and how it's been designed, it's a machine learning model that's currently accessible to the whole globe. That's the main difference between one of the most important differences for the broad public between the other machine learning models and this specific one, is that everybody can access it and ask it a question. And before ChatGPT, of course, there would be some less popular tools with comparable accessibility, although machine learning and generally accessing the power of artificial intelligence in currently known form was inaccessible for the broader public. So what's the main difference here? Why is ChatGPT suddenly so popular? And the next question would be how we can use it in our businesses. What would you guys start with? Maybe Patryk?
Yes, I can start with the first part for sure, like why it's so popular. And as you mentioned, it has a great UX. You just ask a question and get an answer. And it is because it was like trained on a lot of data. I mean, like we take the big chunk of the internet, put all of this false, true information into ChatGPT. It will learn all the patterns, and then you can ask any question, and it will give you an answer, false or true, but you never know. It's pretty convincing about saying even not true. So you have to be really careful about it, as it's not trained only on like verified sources, but like of all of the chunks of the internet. So there is like a small thread about using the ChatGPT, and it has just the quality, because if you get asked the question, it gives you pretty well written answer. And it was not possible before because we had a lot of different machine learning models, but they were like really simple, or they made a lot of mistakes in their answers because they haven't so many data, so many patterns to recognize. And that's why ChatGPT is right now so popular.
Okay, so you said that the risk is that the answer is not going to be reliable. Maciek, what other risks do you see in using ChatGPT for commercial purposes, let's say?
Yeah. What Patryk mentioned is basically starting the, let's say, small iceberg tip of the entire problem with using the ChatGPT. It is very popular because it is publicly available, let's say, right? So this brings us a lot of different kind of issues. One of the issue Patryk already mentioned, that it produced well-written content that looks that is very legit, let's say. We are believing that, okay, this might be true, but this sounds or it looks like true. But in the nutshell, we need to understand how such language model works to verify this information, because this output is generated basically on many different data from different sources with different kind of qualities, let's say. Then it is processed by the machine learning algorithm inside there, and then we are generating the output that looks very convincing for us as a human. So if we are aware of that, how these particular elements of the entire system works, we can decide if this particular output is basically true or not. But we need to be aware how how the entire system works, to be very cautious with that. We need to verify if this works. We cannot trust this by default. We should have this approach that this is not trust, we should not trust this by default. So the approach should be quite opposite, and then iterate on these out. So this is the one angle. From the different perspective, we are working. ChatGPT is a great example because we are working on we are using the tool that is based on the one model that is shared globally, right? So we are providing their content, we are providing their data that will be used to train the model further, right? So if we are doing such things, we need to be aware that we providing them data that will be in some way available for other parts of the world. So we already seen that globally. We're seeing the examples of data leaks from the companies, because companies' employees would tend to, I will speed up my work by providing them output from my part of the job, for example, some kind of documents, and the ChatGPT will do the magic and will generate a great summary, for example, from a project or something like that, because because it's great for that purpose. And what we are forgetting is that this confidential data may leak through the globally shared model, right? So we already observing that many companies have some strict policies using especially ChatGPT because of this model of the solution. And again, this is another angle, another threat. But each of these threats have the solutions, because we are talking about ChatGPT, but ChatGPT also and GPT engine is working under the Microsoft open AI services, and we can mitigate that risk by introducing to our company introduce model that is not shared globally, but it is closed in the under the environment or IT environment of our organization. So in every step where we find issues regarding the security, regarding the privacy, there is always a solution, or we can find a solution. But first of all, we need to be cautious and we need to be patient to do not start things very fast because we are waiting. Business need to show must go on, and we need to play with all things very quickly. Okay, that's great, but still we need to have some space to think about the threats, to find the better solution for that, because we can violate basically many rules or leak our information from our company. We don't want to situation that our business data of our company will be available through the ChatGPT to basically all over the world, right? This is one of the risks that we should take into consideration, and this risk, the pool of this risk, will grow as we will analyze the potential solution, potential application of the entire system, and things like that. So that's the few examples.
Okay, so like you said, the data that we introduce to the model, in case of the OpenAI service, of course, can be shared with all of the model users. But it is like that with all new technologies. They can be used in a wrong way, even unconsciously. And like you've mentioned, we observe some countries even banning the use of ChatGPT. But is it a long-term solution? What would you advise those companies should do? Should they somehow train their employees, or is a ban even a solution to consider? Well, it is, apparently.
Yeah, basically, this is like this, let's say, kind of standard approach that we, first of all, we need to ban to limit the scale of the problem or potential problem. So they are banning that because it is much easier and much quicker to find to ban some tool and then find the solutions and implement that than do it a different way. So they are banning that because they were not ready to implement policies, find the trainings to prepare and monitor the whole situation. But in my opinion, the key resolution here and key solution for these kind of problems is using the tools that are designed for the business. So as I mentioned, Microsoft OpenAI service, AWS is also developing itself their solution for that, for using generative and AI engines and things like that. These solutions are designed to be closed under the roof of the organization to prevent such leaks. Of course, this is like still quite new services, quite new tools. So we will find in the nearest future another kind of issues, another kind of vulnerabilities inside these services. But it is a natural process. We are learning still from the perspective. But if there are already commercial solutions to implement, like to mitigate some risk, let's do this. Let's use it. We know in Netguru we already using this Microsoft OpenAI service just to mitigate that risk, right? To not use the open version of the ChatGPT because it introduces a lot of risk. We don't have the control of what our employees are putting there. This is not the way to do this. But we have the better solution, so we are using the better solution. Patrick probably will elaborate this further. Our R&D is working to find the application, but based on the more secure approach and the approach that will be easier to fit into your business needs, to fit into your business requirements, security requirements, or just to fulfill compliance and regulations, because we are living in a world like GDPR and stuff like that. So we still need to think about that, because this is a new tool. Technology is rapidly growing, and the compliance and law is developing quite, let's say, much slower than technology. So this is always this gap that we need to take into consideration.
Yeah, definitely. And we have a comment from Piotr from the comment section that we need to create ethical codex. Of course, we should, but then like you've mentioned, Maciej, it's also about the law and the regulations regarding to the law, and that it is far, far behind technology, and it's going to be a few years still before it catches up, and technology will probably be much more ahead then. But let's go to the comment section, actually, because we have a few questions there. One question is from Adrian. What is the memory limitations of ChatGPT 4 and how to hack these memory limitations? Patrick, can you take this one?
Yes, sure. So let's imagine a situation. We set up like private instance on our Azure. So we have like private GPT-4 environment and we can talk with it. And GPT-4 has a context window of like 8,000 tokens. So it's like 6,000 words, I believe, as I remember. So we can paste like around 6,000 words and it will remember the 6,000. But if we go further, it will start to forget about the beginnings of what we asked pasted. So for example, we can paste easily like 2 documents and we're already out of the context window. So it will forget, for example, the first document that we pasted, and it starts and the problem is starting like how to keep the memory for this AI. And for example, they also created like 32,000 context window. So it's much bigger, but still it's easy to hit the limit with like pasting like, I don't know, 5-10 documents. And we need to somehow hack it. And right now, I think the most popular are embeddings. So we take like, for example, the document and instead like pasting everything, we make kind of similarity checks. So we make like this document into machine learning numbers and we try to find the most similar parts to our question. And then we paste only these fragments, these sentences that are the most relevant to our question. And suddenly we don't have to paste like 5,000 words, but only a few hundreds. So we make like we give much smaller context for the AI to work with, and we can keep like the context window much, much longer. And with 32,000 context windows, it's really hard to hit the limitation with this method. And to go into more specifics, we have this embedding, so magical numbers for all the text. We can put them into our database, vector database, to like cache it for later. So we don't have to recreate all of these documents again and again. And we can use this vector database as a database for our company. So if you have any questions to your documents, you can easily like search through this database, vector database, and ask questions about it. And suddenly we are using the GPT without need to retrain, fine tune, like create a new version of this AI, which is pretty costly, but we can easily create a database with all our documents and just search through relevant parts and provide it to GPT so it can like work with us on specifics.
So that sounds that what we need to do is synthesize the question so it doesn't have so many characters, although that's not so easily accessible, right? Because you need other tools to be able to do it.
Yes, exactly. Right now you have to re-implement. There are, if you type probably vector database for GPT in the Google, you will probably find a lot of useful tools because there are already companies that are specializing in it. There is also a lot of open source solutions. I really like from the Facebook, like FICE. It's really great vector database that is really fast. And you can easily use like create implementation with, for example, LangChain of this phase and GPT from Azure, and you can create like your own knowledge hub for your company. And you are not like leaking the data because you are using like a private instance on Azure. You also are not leaking the documents because you have like private database with the information, and this information is not even like the plain text but rather numbers and everything. So it's really coming up together as a knowledge hub for a company, for a business.
Okay, and Adrian making sure. So we need to use first database that can allow us to send vector embeddings. Is that correct?
That's the easiest solution, I believe. You can always like retrain, fine-tune the GPT model, but it costs probably millions right now. So it's much easier and cheaper to use these vector embeddings.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the best solution I can see right now.
Okay. And what was the Facebook vector database, Patrick? What was the name?
FAICC, as I remember.
Okay. I bet ChatGPT can tell you, Adrian, exactly what the name is. Okay, let's go back to the security because we also have other question about the rumor of OpenAI storing data on external servers, and it has to do with GDPR. So Maciej, maybe you could take this one.
Yeah, basically, let me read the question. But it is very tricky question because first we need to answer what doesn't mean external servers. We need to define that. So basically, it doesn't matter if they are storing external or internal servers, and it doesn't matter what we are thinking about external and internal servers. It's all about what kind of data they are using to train the models. First of all, so if probably most of us already heard the story about Italy that banned the ChatGPT regarding regarding the GDPR context. So the case was about the most important things and the most important issue was that OpenAI used the personal data of Italian citizens to train their models. That was the main one of the main issues there. So today I already read that Italy sent the Italian regulator already said that that they will probably cancel the ban till end of April because they send the OpenAI list of strict requirements to fulfill, and they will probably fulfill the requirements by the end of April, so the ban will be lifted. But this is the main part of the whole fun with the GDPR, that we do not have the direct control on what is going on with the personal data of some people. And the GDPR is about the controlling the flow of the private data of people from the UA, from the EU. So this is the most important problem, not the case that where we can servers and what kind of servers they are there. But if you will put to the OpenAI data of your employees, for example, you will not be able to fulfill the required processing rights that are stated in the GDPR. So, for example, if some of your employees will want you to provide all data that are processed of employee data that are processed in of your IT system, you will not be able to retrieve this data from OpenAI model. It will be much harder to fulfill this requirement. Same thing like with the deleting this data, because on the GDPR basis, you need to be able to delete the data of people that you're processing. So if someone will request to delete it, if you as the company on the data administrator, you won't be able to easily remove this data from this model, because it is like machine learning and stuff like that. So they are extending pretty much automatically. So this is the most tricky part with the GDPR and processing the whole data, personal data there.
And would the solution suggested by Patryk to use the Azure cloud in order to avoid that consequence be a solution for that issue?
Partially, yes. But this is I guess this is the best answer that you will get, because at least you have the control over the entire model, right? Because it is, as Patryk mentioned, it is the private model, and it is used inside your organization. So to fulfill GDPR requirements, you can define rules and policies how your employees or data of your employees or your clients are used in context of OpenAI models, and this will partially fulfill the GDPR requirements. Regarding the to storing and providing the rights for the user, how to manage or how to delete this, many of these questions will be answered just later, because we don't know yet. Last week I talked with the GDPR expert, and he said that after consultation with many companies and many lawyers and things like that, most of the entire community of lawyers are in the state that currently we are rather say that using OpenAI on the current level of knowledge is not compliant with GDPR at all. We need to just to develop the solution how to use it properly and how to connect all these dots with the GDPR. It doesn't mean that we will just get fines just automatically, but we need to find a solution. We need to read the each case that will show off to analyze what is the best approach. Of course, as I mentioned, and as I mentioned already a few times, each issue has the solution. So we can use the GDPR, we can use OpenAI's models and other similar solution in the way that we will not break the GDPR, because we can always anonymize the data before we will provide this to the models, to the engines and things like that. So there is always a solution, but still we need to be aware that there is this risky field that we need to be aware that somewhere there are some traps, and we should avoid them.
So about intellectual property, the terms of use of the ChatGPT, they tell us that everything that is generated is ours, but then we don't know whether the data that was used to train the model didn't include the property of somebody else. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that from the very beginning, that was the first issue that we faced. A few years back, where, for example, GitHub Copilot was introduced, it working on this very similar way for predicting the parts of code. There was the same question. Okay, great. It's great tool that improve our efficiency as developers, but what about the intellectual property rights or things that the model is learning from. So this issue still exists because there's no simple answer. This is the quite this is very complex issue regarding that.
Okay, so the last question to Maciek is from David, because then we will move on to the Copilot, okay, to dig deeper there. So, Maciej, how should companies shape their policies for managing access and usage of AI tools in the enterprise?
Yep, basically, we are talking about the AI because this is like the very new topic, very hot topic currently. But in general, we should approach them like any other tools. You know, this is like the piece of software, so we should treat it like another tool that is very great, but still it is a piece of software that we should, you know, prepare, define some kind of solutions for the existing threats or threats that we already defined, and then implement these on these policies. Of course, there's no one simple answer for that. There's no one simple solution or, you know, template of the policies that you can provide, at least yet. Because everything depends on the context, on the business context, of the use case that you want to implement. But what is most important regarding the companies and enterprise companies is to, you know, first of all, define the business model and the use case that you want to achieve. Then, from our perspective, very useful would be to perform risk analysis and threat modeling to define at least partially to cover the risk that you should be able to identify based on the business context and based on the use case. And then, based on the results of this threat modeling and risk analysis, define the proper security controls. Security controls by security controls, I mean policies, trainings for the users of these tools, because this is very important to train people about the risk and things like that, to probably find some kind of limitations regarding the access management to the entire system and things like that, or monitor to usage of this tool. So there are several things, but the best approach would be to to analyze each case individually and find the best solution for each company based on their business context.
And that actually sounds like the AI primer workshop that we conduct within Netguru for our clients, which helps you find the proper business areas to implement AI solutions of different kinds. It can be data science, it can be machine learning based, it can be a tool from the shelf used properly in a secure manner, but also perform a threat modeling, so the other side of the coin. How you should prepare yourself and your company and your employees for the use of new technology that is, like you said, great, but has to be handled carefully as well. Okay, and right now, another tool getting quite popular that you have just mentioned, Maciek, is the GitHub's Copilot that more and more developers are using. And of course, it's being marketed as your coding AI partner. But is it really? Patryk and Maciek, have you had the chance to use it yourselves?
I can start. Yes, I had. And it's pretty great tool, especially because it's specialized to help you with the coding. And it's great for all the templates of the boilerplate you have to write. So it's making it much faster. But it's only like, your partner, because you have to still like figure out what you want to write and think about it. So I don't believe it will replace developers pretty soon, but it has the possibility to speed up the work, because much of the coding can be done really fast with the suggestions. But we also need to be really careful about the suggestions from the Copilot, because they can provide you with like the best practices. For example, if you start typing like API key equals to, and it gives you like, for example, API key in the plain text. And as a developer, you should know that you cannot paste, like, for example, API keys in the plain text, but you have to store them somewhere in env variables or somewhere else. And it's really important to remember that you need to like review what Copilot is proposing, because it has its own flaws, because it might also like provide you with insecure data, because it was also trained not only on really great like open source projects, but also on really bad random projects. So you never know what you can get from the Copilot, especially as it uses like the context of your application. And if you are writing in insecure way, it probably will also try to help you write in insecure way. So it's really worth it to remember that you have to like review it.
Okay, so use but review. That would be the first advice. Any more advices for programmers using the Copilot, maybe from you, Maciek?
Yeah, basically what Patryk mentioned, we already tested. One of my engineers tested this last week, and asked Copilot to generate like server configuration or application configuration, and he did it. Copilot generated the pretty much whole configuration, but it was unsecure by design. Let's say any of good practices were not implemented there. So as Patryk mentioned, it generates great input, and it provides a great help to improve the quality, improve the speed of the development. But it is, I said it was a kind of joke, but there is a reason that this service is called Copilot, not Autopilot. So it helps us and should help developers to improve the quality, not do the job for them entirely. So still we need to be very careful what the output is generated. Still we need to be aware of the best practices. We need to validate that and check, and also be aware that what also Patryk mentioned, that the tools like that not always are learning from the best practices, or what is also most important, it generates output that is not strictly attached to the business or technical context of our code of our project, right? So we need to be aware that this generates output that is not may not fit to the entire context of our project or our situation. So checking, verifying information still very important, and awareness of this, how this work, how this tool is working is a crucial part of using it, because this will I heard stories about that some companies are trying to reduce developer workforce and replace them by Copilot or ChatGPT, because it's much easier and much quicker. This may result with the many issues with the software that will be produced that way, because it will propagate the issues that are already somewhere there, placed in the data sets that were used to train these models, right? So let's try to do not propagate these issues and feed this loop. Just we need to be focused to reduce these issues there.
Yes, and even GitHub is already addressing some parts of it, because they are providing like a tool for pull request review. So you can write in secure code, send it to the GitHub, and GitHub will provide you with overview with the code review of your insecure application, and it should point out like all the problems in your code. So even if Copilot is writing one thing, another machine learning model can start verifying it. I really like the podcast with Enrique Carpati, and he's talking about software 2.0, where different machine learning models will work together to achieve like one goal. And I believe GitHub is doing a great job with it because they are providing the Copilot, the tool for code review, and in future, much more machine learning models can start checking everything. For example, for security, you can create machine learning models specialized in security that will start reviewing our application to find the problems, the errors, the threats that our code might do.
Yeah.
So I really recommend this podcast and how Enrique Carpati is like imagining the world with the AI and new machine learning models, especially right now.
Yeah, basically, it's we need to be. We are quite sure that the whole models and the tools will become better and better in the nearest future. So we need to be also aware that the whole environment is rapidly changing, and the tools will be better. But also, as security guy, I need to point something, another point, that we need to be also aware that building and improving such tools will also bring another new complexity, and together with the complexity we will get also a new threats and new risks that we are not able to imagine currently. So this is like the process that will evolve, but still we need to be very careful watching these tools, how they are working, and how they improve their efficiency and things that they are generating.
Yeah, but the development of the Copilot clearly shows the direction of how this business domain is going to evolve. Ours, so software developers become more of experts, people who observe things, who validate the outputs of AI, and put them into perspective, into business context and technological context as well. Not just people who code, which makes the entry level slightly higher than it was before, because of course these were needed as well. But for the beginners, you could just learn to code, and then you would probably make those same mistakes as the Copilot is doing right now, because you just don't know about the business context, about the security measures that need to be implemented. So it will learn as well and become more and more helpful. Okay, but we've been discussing the tools that are available here now that have very low entry points. But machine learning and data science, they revolve around the idea that you can take any business process with lots and lots of data to analyze and get a clear reading from that data set using machine learning models. So there are many different implementations of how can that be used. And I would like to close our meeting today with Patryk telling us a little bit about your experience with augmented reality and how that could be enhanced by the use of AI.
Yes, AR is a great example about like putting your machine learning models, AI, in front of, for example, customers. You can check out on my LinkedIn some of the images, some of the videos, how we are applying, like, for example, for our retail clients, changing the environment. For example, you can easily replace the walls, the floor, and all of the objects there with your own props, for example, from your store. So for example, if you have a furniture store, you can easily like showcase in the client room how it might look with your furniture. And it's much cooler because we can even try to add segmentation algorithm that will try to find all the people on the image feed, on the video feed, and you can even see it on the real code and virtually replace it with something another. You can check out how it looks on my LinkedIn, and it's getting much better, especially right now when everybody is focused so much on AI. So it's easy to get better results much sooner.
Mm-hmm. And we actually have a few interesting machine learning implementations within Netguru. Like, for example, I remember one of my projects when the client wanted 2 pictures combined together with a different level of emphasis on the style and the colors and basically the contents of each picture. And you could modify how much of each was used in the final outcome. But also you can take a look at many different case studies published on Netguru LinkedIn and website. And generally speaking, this is a very exciting time because we can experience firsthand the use of technology that was developed all over the world for years now and has suddenly sped up a bit and got more popular and accessible because of, for example, ChatGPT. But when you want to use machine learning in your business, first what you would do is analyze the business processes that you have, figure out which of them require analysis of lots and lots of data and which are slightly repetitive. And this is probably a start point. But this is a beginning of very interesting conversation, which we invite all of you to. You can reach us through LinkedIn or through Netguru contact page. Thank you very much for listening today. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comments below the event. And thank you very much. Patryk and Maciek, thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day, all of you.
Bye.
Bye.